Hello. This is the first in a series of lessons of learning how to program using Small Basic as an example. Over the past few weeks, I have been teaching some of the younger members of my extended family how to program using this programming language, and I decided might make sense to just record this, um, either to assist other members of my family or just the general audience if there's anyone searching for how to learn for programming for themselves or for their children. Um, in my family, this has mostly been accessible for children around the age of 10 to about 13. Um, some of the earlier lessons were approachable by about 8 and 9 year olds, but they became fairly difficult very quickly. But some of them still had fun, but then the parents were like, they were getting a bit frustrated, and so they dropped out. So maybe around 10 or 11 and above would be applicable. There were some parents who weren't familiar with programming in general, who found some of these classes more than a little bit challenging. So if you're, I don't know, 20 plus and you've never been exposed to programming, this might be fun for you to review as well. So Small Basic is a fairly flexible language. It's fairly forgiving. There are a lot of hangups that prevent people from learning to program in more complicated language such as C or Java or even Perl. Um, and the Small Basic gets around a lot of these hangups that you don't need to pay attention to, and just helps you to get to program. It is a very cut down version of basic programming. And if you think current Microsoft Windows, some of the earlier versions of Windows was actually written in BASIC. So even though this is a fairly restricted version of BASIC, like that is how powerful programming is that you can use a programming language to make a full operating system. I wouldn't advise you make an operating system with Small Basic, but that's just an example of how powerful programming can be. So in terms of downloading Small Basic, there are two main ways I would suggest. This link is over here, which allows you to either download it or to start coding online. For this first lesson, I will be using Start Coding Online. I would highly suggest that you just completely delete this before looking at it. The only way to learn to program is to program, and so yeah, having examples are good, but even just retyping the example from scratch would be helpful for you to start to remember. And the other way, obviously, is you can directly download it from Microsoft. In either case, it is totally free to use. Okay, so I will read out the first lesson, and then I'll proceed through code in the first lesson. Um, so generally, the first thing learned in programming is how to do input, read, and output write for the programming language. The one we are using mainly uses TextWindow for input and output. So part I is try typing TextWindow.WriteLine your name. Okay. And then I'm just going to click run. And so it just prints whatever I typed. So in this case, I typed my name is NetPaper, and it just printed that. This will be one thing that would be noted is that NetPaper and then program ended are on separate lines. And so that is the difference between WriteLine and Write. In this case, program has ended is on the same line as NetPaper. Okay? So now that is the main difference between WriteLine and Write. WriteLine writes a line and then goes to the next line. Write goes to the end of the line and then just continues. So, for example, let's do this. So, in this case, it's going to write net space paper. See? And if I did write line here, it will do net new line paper. It's not really super important, but I thought that was neat to look at. Okay, so we've done part I, or part 1. So now do print your name, and then print enter your age, and then print age equals TextWindow.Read. Okay, so TextWindow.Write or TextWindow.WriteLine is how we do output, and TextWindow.Read is how we do input. Currently, whatever I type in will be stored in age. That's what's going to happen. So it prints out net paper, and then it prints enter your age. And whatever I type in here, the program ends, because I'm not doing anything with age. But in this case, the 10 that I typed would have been stored in age. Okay? So that is it for part 2 of lesson 1. And now try print in age. So far, we've seen how to print. So we are just going to continue. With what we've learned already. And then okay, so this is one thing you can consider is anytime you have quotes, double quotes like this, usually what it is exactly what you have between the quotes is going to be what is printed, okay? And then what this plus does in this case is I want to print this, and then I want to add it or combine it with whatever it comes after, okay? So in this case, it's going to print I am colon, and then it's going to print age, and then it's going to combine all of that with whatever I have after here, which is going to be space years old, okay? So in this case, when I hit run, it's going to print net paper, enter your age, question mark. Then it's going to wait for me to type something. I'm going to retype 10. And then it's going to print I am colon age space years old. Okay, see? So printed net paper, printed enter your age. I typed in 10, and then it printed I am colon 10 space years old. Okay, and so now we are done with part 3. Now part 4 is print your age in 10 years. Okay, so you could retype this and say, in 10 years, I will be. And so this is going to be a little bit confusing, maybe, but since there's no quotes or no quotation marks around age plus 10, what this is going to do, it's going to print exactly what's inside the quotation marks. So it'll print, in 10 years, I will be colon, and then it will combine that with whatever is here. Okay, that's what this plus does. It combines whatever is here with whatever is after it. Okay, but this has no quotes, and this has no quotes. Okay, so here we're actually going to do an addition. Okay, so if I enter 10, this is going to print 10, this is going to have a value of 10, and then I'm going to add 10 to it. Okay? So all of this part is going to become 20. Okay? So it'll print in 10 years, I will be, colon, it will sum these two, and then it will try to combine this plus the sum of these two, which is 20, and then whatever is here. And since this is back to complete quotation marks, it will print whatever is here. Okay, so let us run. Net paper, enter your age. For fun's sake, let me put in 14. Okay, so it's going to say in 10 years, interesting. So this happens sometimes. It's not supposed to happen, but this happens sometimes. I think it mainly happens on the browser version of it. So instead of this, one other thing we could do is age 10 equals age plus 10. Okay? And so even though that's the same thing here, we're going to replace this now with age 10. Okay? Then we're going to click run. So let's stick with 14. And this time it works. Okay? So age plus 10 here should work. It seems to not work on the browser. If you've installed the program, feel free to try it, and that should work for you. Okay, so what's the difference between age plus 10, age plus 10, and age plus 10? Okay, so let's try those combinations. Okay, so this is age plus 10, doesn't seem to work on the browser, so we're going to stick with this. Now we're going to do age, and then we're going to do plus 10, and then we're going to do age plus 10. Okay? So age underscore 10 equals age plus 10. So this is 10. Okay? And since this is in quotes, it's going to be exactly what's in the quotes. Okay? Just for readability, because I know it's about to happen, I'm going to put space around it. And this is also in quotes, so it's going to put age plus 10. This is going to put space, age, space, plus 10. This is going to put age plus 10. So this is print exactly what's inside the quotes, then print 10. This is going to be what's inside the quotes is explicitly age plus 10. Okay? So I'm going to click run. This time, let's go with lucky number 13. Okay? So enter your age 13. I am 13 years old. In 10 years, I will be 23 years old. In 10 years, I will be age, combine quotes age plus 10 years old. And in this case, it is quotes age plus 10 close quotes. And now you can see the difference between the two of them. Okay? So that is it for lesson 5. And because we were on the browser, that's one of the reasons that part 6 came up, is some members of my family was having trouble where they did age plus 10 in a single line and it didn't work. So that is it for lesson 1. Thank you and have a good day. Feel free to leave any comments and I will try to check every couple of weeks or so. Thank you. Goodbye.